been seen as a community builder, a builder of character and cohesion. But it's under question here in Queensland. The question driving the debate is, when does a religious program cross the line from religious instruction to indoctrination?
Well, part of the Christian message is, Jesus comes and says to people, follow me. That is, being a Christian is a follower of Jesus Christ. And so that's certainly part of what it means to be a Christian. But in terms of the engagement with the students, we want to present it to them. This is what Christians believe.
I don't think they should be taught anything at all. It's a serious family discussion and a topic that gets talked about around the dinner table, whether you want to be religious or not. No, I really don't think it belongs in a state school especially.
Well, I think our children should be taught about the Almighty God.
Some calls to Emma Griffith's program Drive yesterday afternoon. A review has been announced into the Connect religious instruction syllabus. Until recently, it was taught at Windsor State School until the principal there suspended classes concerned at the content of the curriculum. The concern was that it apparently was a, quote, sin and salvation program, unquote, with material going beyond imparting knowledge of the Bible. Well, Queensland's Education Minister is Kate Jones. Minister, good morning to you.
Good morning, Steve. How are you?
Very well, thank you. What have you called for the Education Department to do?
Well, look, as you would be aware, concerns were raised with me and in the media specifically about the Connect materials, and I've asked the department to have a look at the Connect materials to see whether they fit within the current guidelines in regards to religious instruction in schools. So I've been advised, Steve, that they think it'll take about 2 weeks to go through those materials and make an assessment about their appropriateness in schools.
And who called for you to do this at the Windsor School? Was it the secular parents group?
No, I think it was the PNC had written to me, and also I was actually acting on the advice of the principal. So what triggered my decision to have a look at these materials was that I was receiving complaints to my ministerial office, but also the principal had made a determination that he believed at their school it was inappropriate for the Connect materials to be taught, that they were outside the guidelines. Given a principal has made that stand, I thought it was appropriate to have a look at the materials to see whether it's the best way going forward.
Okay, so the principal's making a stand and you're supporting that stand?
Well, the principal's made a decision about the guidelines, and his view was that the material in the school did not fit the guidelines. Given one of our principals has made that decision, and given I was asked to see whether it would be appropriate to use those materials, I understand Connect is being used in a number of schools. If a principal's made that determination, I thought I had a responsibility to have a look at those materials to ensure that children in all schools were getting the right information along the guidelines.
What is the Education Department policy on what a religious instruction program should and should not offer?
Well, to be honest with you, there has been a lot of probably flexibility around religious instruction because it has been available in schools for generations. And the key points of the guidelines are that parents must give permission and that they must not overtly influence a child's decision regarding faith.
Okay, I think it was actually part of the Queensland education curriculum up until the 1960s.
Yeah,
Can you confirm that?
Yes, I think you're absolutely right, Steve. I know that it has been long-standing, and I certainly had religious instruction at school when I was at primary school, at state school here in Queensland.
And this is in the state school system, so it was part of the curriculum historically in Queensland as the state school system?
Absolutely.
Right, okay. Who decides if it's run in a school today? Is it the principal or the education department itself?
The principal themselves. The principal determines whether they can provide religious instruction in their school. So it is available for all schools to have religious instruction, but often when I talk to principals and teachers, what I hear is it comes down to the availability of people that are willing to provide religious instruction. In most cases, it's volunteers.
Okay. How often does the education department review these programs?
Look, to be honest, I don't think they review them regularly as a department. It's done at a principal decision-making level. So a principal decides, it is the onus on the principal to have a look at the materials proposed to be taught in their school and make a decision about the appropriateness of that materials in line with the guidelines.
Now, Windsor State School's policy is, and I quote, only students who have identified as one of the faith groups will participate in religious instruction, quote unquote. Given, how is it possible to proselytise when the only kids who are already Christian are in the class in the first place?
Well, when I speak to parents, particularly parents that have raised concerns with me about participating in religious instruction, they feel that at the moment it's an opt-out system as opposed to an opt-in. So I think there is, a lot of issues here that, and what the pressure that I'm getting, Steve, is that we've seen other states like Victoria remove religious instruction from curriculum learning time. So look, I want to take this one step at a time. What I've said is that concerns have been raised with me about these Connect materials. We now have a principal that's reviewed those materials and has found that he thinks that they are not appropriate and not in line term with the guidelines. I've asked the department to give me clear advice on whether those Connect materials are contravening the guidelines that are in place, because I understand that the Connect materials are being taught in many schools across Queensland. So I just want to get a clear advice on whether the Connect materials are in line with the guidelines, and what could come out of this, as you were rightly highlighting, is there has been for a long period of time a lot of principals' discretion around how religious instruction is taught in schools.
But the school itself, the school that you say has prompted the review, itself stated that only children who identified with those faith groups will participate in religious instruction. Was that not happening?
I'm not sure, and I'm sure that the review will answer that question.
Well, the principal could answer that, couldn't he?
Yes, he can, and he'll obviously be being asked and interviewed as part of the review process.
Okay. I'm talking with Education Minister Kate Jones. Now, I've received some tweets this morning. One of them says, in Queensland, there's been no review of the Safe Schools program after a petition went to Parliament of 11,400 complaints. But a review of a religious class is taken place after one principal complains. This looks duplicitous or hypocritical. Can you speak to that, please?
Well, our government made it very clear when we went to the election that we would be implementing the Safe Schools program and making it available for Queensland schools. So we stand by having the Safe Schools program available in Queensland schools. Unlike other states, however, we have said that it'll be a principal's decision about what material is taught as part of the Safe Schools program. So it is available for schools, and if schools think that they want to use it in their school, then that is available for them to do so. So we've been upfront about saying, and the Premier gave a commitment, that she believed that in order to, as do I, that in order to ensure that every child feels safe and included in the schooling environment, that we would make Safe Schools program available. And I believe that is the right decision.
I am speaking with Queensland's Education Minister, Kate Jones. This is 612 ABC Brisbane. So 2 weeks, the review should be done. Mm-hmm. But essentially the model is that principals run the school. They're there like a manager, so they need to have the final say in this area. Absolutely. We've had, as you know, there's been a bipartisan approach to providing principals with more discretion around what is appropriate for their school and the children in their school. That is, they know their school community best. And obviously the guidelines very clearly around religious education in Queensland is that parents must give permission and that it must not overtly influence a child's decision. So what I'm reacting to here is specific concerns raised about the Connect materials and a principal deciding that in his view, applying those guidelines for his school, he found that he thought that they were in contravention of those guidelines. Given Connect is taught in numerous schools, I'm advised, across Queensland, I've asked to get some clear advice about whether it is in breach of the guidelines or not. All right, but kids who aren't religious or parents who don't want their children to hear religious words aren't being forced to go to these classes, are they? No, my understanding is that parents absolutely have the right to opt their child out of religious instructions at all schools in Queensland. I appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Steve. Take care. Bye. Queensland's Education Minister, Kate Jones.
ABC Grandstand.
A trip to the shaky Isles sent a tremor through the Broncos.
He just bulldozed his way right through the outside backs of the Broncos to score in the corner.
Thursday night, NRL returns this week. The Green Machine from Canberra head to Brisbane for a high-stakes clash to open round 14. We'll take you there on 612 ABC Brisbane and Grandstand Digital.